they have the video of me talking about the problems of the ark that they attach to it every single time. This changed the entire story. And we want to help you. Another couple cool anecdotes about this is, and this wasn't planned, is Planned Parenthood was there as an official sponsor. And all the Planned Parenthood employees grabbed American Atheist signs, and all the American Atheist employees grabbed Planned Parenthood signs. And we looked at that and didn't know. We also walked up 2 by 2, same sex, up to the ark. And it was reported that we had a few gay kisses along the way. We don't have pictures, but that made the paper, by the way. We also got one of my favorite quotes that you can get protest signs for. The state director of Planned Parenthood, while Planned Parenthood helped us plan the first one unofficially, because they couldn't quite be there officially, but they're good organizers, on the second one, they were an official sponsor. And Planned Parenthood goes, we need to show up for this atheist affiliate. And they're like, what's our angle? Why do we care about the vote? And they go, they're defunding women's reproductive rights and funding this atrocity and anti-science. And Planned Parenthood officials said, be there. The state director stood on stage in front of all the cameras and said, when equal rights are under attack, atheists show up. I was so proud of that moment. We made signs. We'll have t-shirts. This is a powerful statement by a non-atheist organization that we show up to defend equal rights. And being out there protesting, making noise, this is what it's about. And every time we do something like this, our membership increased. Now, I'm not talking about American Atheists. I'm talking about the local affiliate increased by over 100 people each time. When we did the Women's March, it increased by 100 people. We did the March for Science, about 100 people. By being out there and being visible, it has an impact. So this goes into our ACES program. This was taken directly and stolen from the Tri-State Freethinkers. This is the ACES program. It stands for activism, community service, education, social. When we looked at groups all across the country that were doing the best, they were doing all 4 of these. Do you know what the number 1 reason people join groups is? Social. Do you know what the number 1 reason groups go to die? Social. Because that's all they do. Even the Tri-State Freethinkers, which is the firebrand activists and the genocide and incest part people, 65% of that membership is joined because of social. We pull it every year. If you're going to get anything out of my talk, take a picture of this slide. This is the power of the ACES program, and I will explain. Have you ever gone to a talk to hear about a problem and get upset and say we should do something about that? That upsets me. And then the next month, you go to another talk and say that really pisses me off. And then the next month, and then the next month, but nothing is done? Have you ever gone to a group where it's the atheist leaders doing all the work and say, I can't do anymore? It's one person doing all the work, but they said, I don't have volunteers, I don't have help. Have you ever gone to a group that says, I'm broke, we don't have any money? This solves all those problems. And let me explain. This is a real life example with Planned Parenthood. When it comes to volunteers, we have a different member responsible for each of the ACES. Guess which one I take responsibility for? Good guess. But not everybody's a firebrand activist like me. Some people like feeding the homeless, helping puppies, the environment. They handle the community service piece. It's a different type of person than me. We have scholars and educators that want to bring in these great talks. And then we have the people that like to drink beer and bitch about religion. They're the ones that bring in the crowds that we recruit from. These are all 4 different types of people of different committees running the organization, so we get multiple volunteers. So the education department brought in Planned Parenthood to speak about women's rights, reproductive rights, and all the things that were going on. The activism committee worked with Planned Parenthood ahead of time and set up lobby days, letters, postcards, phone banks, and a state house protest with Planned Parenthood. The educational meetings are never our own. They are almost always a joint venue with somebody else. So that meeting was the Tri-State Freethinkers and Planned Parenthood. The next meeting will be the Tri-State Freethinkers and the ex-Muslims of North America, or the Tri-State Freethinkers and the ACLU. There is always a co-branded meeting with whoever who we're bringing in, so our members intermingle. Because we agree on a lot. We also did a community service project. At a protest, we collected over 2 truckloads of women's hygiene products and donated them to a women's shelter. We then set up movie nights and dinners and drinks so that we can bitch about religion with Planned Parenthood. Guess what happened to that? Planned Parenthood is a huge part of the Tri-State Freethinkers. A lot of our members are members of Planned Parenthood. And when I walked in there, they were like, hey Jim, I'm an atheist. Now I walk in there and half the building's open atheists. And most of their members, when I walk into a Planned Parenthood event of 100, 200 people, I'm seeing my members. Planned Parenthood also had us on the State House as open atheists speaking about legislation and policy. They were the very first group that gave us a mic at the State House level when other people were afraid to. This is how you impact change. Also, on the money issue, people don't like to donate money when you're just drinking beer. But if you get a policy change on school board level or city council or state level, people will donate money. You're doing good work to feed 200 homeless people, people will donate money. And not only say will they donate money, do you know who the Tri-State Freethinkers' largest donors are? Duke Energy, General Electric, Kroger, Amazon. Next year it'll be the city of Cincinnati. This is the power of the ACES program. You normalize atheism. Because why are we in a synagogue today? Because they have a community. This builds a community that is atheistic, humanist, however you want to identify. But that is the one advantage the church has had over us all this time. And they can't say that anymore. The power of the ACES, I can't express this enough. We used to fight to be a voice. As an open atheist, and keep in mind, I live in between the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter. I can speak at any major rally march in that area I want as an atheist and do it. The March for Science, Women's March, State House. I can speak for the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, NARAL. You name it, I have a voice. The Poor People's Campaign begged us to get on board. But all these people are running for office, they're asking for my endorsement before they run. I'm a nonprofit, so I can't give it. The mayor asked me as an open atheist to speak at the city council meeting about sanctuary cities. Legislators, council members are asking to speak at the atheist meeting. They're requesting. We're not going to them trying to get a meeting. They're coming to us saying, can I meet with you? Can I meet with your members? When religious campaigns are now coming to us and saying, we can't do this successfully without the secular and the atheist community. You are such a power in this area. How can we make this more inclusive to include you? David Silverman says if you use the word atheist, you'll change an individual's mind. But if you adopt the ACES program, you can change an entire community of the way they view atheists and not be afraid to do it. These are atheist issues. As I speak to you and I say these are atheist issues, the only difference is I don't do it out in public. I just say we're here for the issue. So I always introduce myself as an atheist. I'm Jim Helton with American Atheist, and then I'm here about the issue. And I keep it about the issue, and I am a good ally, I am a good partner. But what we would like to see is I see multiple groups in this room, multiple people, is the ACES program. It also creates diversity because you're dealing with all these different issues. Our board in Kentucky is 70% women because we're working with Planned Parenthood. Because we're going after school boards, we have many kids from middle school, high school, college in our group. We have youth. And guess what? When people don't listen to me, they listen to her. We have over 200 affiliates and 7 local partners. Now that 200 affiliates, I would say most of them are social groups and not that active. Our goal is to turn them into local partners where we're communicating and also sharing best resources. If you affiliate with American Atheists, you're not exclusive to American Atheists. Affiliate with American Humanists, affiliate with Foundation Beyond Belief. All these other organizations, most of them have money or resources. FFRF has a great legal team. There's all these things you can do where these national organizations that we can use to support. And local groups need to take advantage of all of that. How many people knew that Foundation Beyond Belief had a $500 grant for local groups if you did community service? The founder of the group. Yeah, if you do community service projects, they'll send you 25 t-shirts and $500 to do with what you will. Most people don't know these things, and that's the information we're trying to get out there. So here's my ask. I need volunteers. I need people willing to testify at their state houses. I need people to go to their city council meetings. I need people willing to go to their school boards. I need people that want to be directors that can get this information and be the liaison between American Atheists and those groups. And we want to take, if you're not an affiliate, become an affiliate. It's free. If you're already an affiliate, we want to gear you to becoming a local partner. Thank you. So this is usually, I'll tell you a quick story. Annie Laurie Gaylor called me. I speak all over the country at national conventions, and Annie Laurie said, Jim, we have our national convention come up, we want you to come speak. And I said, I would love to. She goes, I'm sorry, you misunderstood. We want your daughter. I was never so mad and so proud at the exact same time. From parenting, everybody, when you hear Kelly, you're going, I think, one, you'll be impressed. But I want you to think about this when you hear her. Just a couple years ago, she was shy. If you said hi to her, she wouldn't talk to you. We thought she had a speech issue when she was a child. She was so shy. And people ask me about raising my kids and my approach. Now, I understand the need to protect kids, and somebody said, but my secret to my success, or the reason, not my success, really my kids' success is, as a firebrand activist, I didn't want to impose my will on my kids. So when they would bring me a church state violation, which in Kentucky, there's a lot, I said, you should talk to your teacher. And Kelly was like, I can't do that. I'm like, if it doesn't bother you enough to say anything, it doesn't bother me enough to do anything about it. Keep in mind, she was in elementary school. And guess what? Nothing happened. The next year, she's like, Dad, they're still doing this. I'm like, you should say something. She didn't. The next year, she's like, Dad, they're still doing this. I can't take it anymore. I'm like, good for you, do something about it. And you know what? She did. I only get involved as a last resort. My son, when he gets active, the school sends me emails to deal with it, and I throw them away. I throw the letters away, I delete the emails, because he's dealing with it. I don't respond, I don't get in the way. I let them do it. Only at that point where he hits a brick wall do I get involved. So I know that's not for everybody. I know my kids are strong. I know some kids that would be devastating, so we need to protect our children. And I think organizations do that, so I don't want to sound rough that, not everybody has the mentality to do that, and we should protect our kids as necessary. But as I tell people, I wasn't raising kids, I'm raising activists. So with that, please welcome Kelly to the stage.
My name's Kelly Helton. I'm the equal rights advocate for the Tri-State Freethinkers. When equal rights are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. By attempting to defund Planned Parenthood, you have declared war on women. I am here to tell you that we are not damsels in distress tied to the tracks. We are the train. Those were the words I heard at the State House in Ohio. I was there because I hid in the backseat of my dad's car after my mom told me I couldn't go because it wasn't safe due to counter-protesters. When we got there, the counter-protesters barged into the room, and my dad and I got separated. I ended up by the podium right next to the senators, and my dad was on the other side of the room. My mom saw me on the news with my dad nowhere in sight. He got in so much trouble. But at that moment, I decided I would no longer be silent, and my voice would be heard. So the next Planned Parenthood rally, I asked to speak. There I told the crowd I did not understand why people wanted to defund Planned Parenthood, deny access to birth control, restrict abortion, and refuse to teach comprehensive sex education that's medically and scientifically accurate. In the end, I realized that it wasn't me who did not understand those issues. The real problem was my legislators did not understand those issues. My next opportunity came on International Women's Day. I expanded on my original speech to cover pay equality, and I asked the crowd the following questions. When I grew up, why should I get paid less for the same job that my brother does, when I clearly work harder than he does? Why should women of color get paid even less than me? I then got an opportunity to do a speech for a Swiss TV special about the separation of church and state in our American public schools. In my choir class, we were singing religious songs. I was not comfortable singing these songs, and they shouldn't have been there in the first place. I asked my dad what I should do, and he told me I should talk to my teacher. So that's what I did. My teacher didn't want to make me feel uncomfortable, and she knew who my dad was and didn't want to get sued. In the end, she removed the religious songs. I wasn't the only student who felt this way, but I was the only student who was willing to stand up and say something. It is amazing what one person can accomplish if they stand up for the rights of others and speak out for those who cannot. I also had an opportunity to speak about atheism when David Silverman was visiting the Tri-State Freethinkers. My call to action was this: in order to change the world around us, we must first let the people around us know who we are. If I can stand up here and shout, "I am an atheist," then perhaps you could come out of the closet so people realize they actually know an atheist. Now, if everyone did this one simple thing, then maybe the next time I get out on stage and shout, "I am an atheist," no one will care. And how cool will that be? I've even had the opportunity to testify at the Ohio State House against the 6-week abortion ban. In school, I was taught that we have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But when I look back and see 20 abortion restrictions in 6 years, it almost seems like Ohio has a government of the men, by the men, for the men, without any regard for women. The committee asked me questions afterwards, and for the first time in a really long time, I actually think they listened to me. When I was asked to speak for the March for Science in Cincinnati, I felt I had an opportunity to set the record straight. I've had science teachers tell me that the Big Bang Theory and evolution are just theories and I can believe whatever I want. I wanted to let them know that the Earth isn't 6,000 years old, and it's not flat either. I wanted to let them know that bringing a snowball to the Senate floor during winter doesn't disprove climate change. I wanted to let them know that I wanted to get my vaccination information from places like Children's Hospital and not Jenny McCarthy. When I was asked to speak at the Women's March, I decided to pull no punches, and I'd like to share parts of the speech with you now with some slight modifications. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. A woman should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. I will not be submissive. I will no longer bow down to the patriarchy. And let me be clear, I am here to dismantle the patriarchy. But most of all, I will no longer remain silent. I am an unapologetic, firebrand, feminist atheist who longs for the day when all religions are viewed as the superstitions they are. We have taken to the streets, and more importantly, we are marching to the polls. We will vote. And by we, I mean you, because I'm clearly too young to vote. The goal is that you'll no longer have to choose between the lesser of two evils when you vote, because progressive women are running for office in 2018. We are atheist voters, and along with the nuns, we are the largest voting bloc by religious affiliation. We need to draw a line in the sand and unite under one banner, and that banner is equality. We need to send a message. If you do not stand for equality, we cannot vote for you. If we want equality for all women and all atheists, then we need to make sure all women and all atheists are represented. We need to ensure people of color and trans people not only have a voice, but have a seat at the table. United, we must stand, or divided, we shall fall. I was recently asked why feminists are so angry. And let me tell you what makes me angry. I am mad because I was told if I have sex before marriage, I am no better than pre-chewed chewing gum. I am mad because religious extremists are dictating my healthcare choices. I am mad because atheists are afraid to use the word atheist. I am mad because my transgender friends can't pee in peace. I am mad because my genitals should not dictate my pay grade. I am mad because thoughts and prayers will not keep students safe. I am mad because people that have the power to vote are not using it to protect those who cannot. But most of all, I am mad because the homophobic, misogynistic, racism, and incompetence of some of our representatives in government. I want our representatives to know we are not asking for equality. We are demanding it. I want our representatives to know there will no longer be decisions made about us without us. We are atheist voters. We are the voice of reason. And we are the reason the world will be a better place. Because atheists care.
I hope that when you're asking people to vote, that you point out that they actually need to cast votes for each line, because in Michigan, 87,810 number of voters this election for 2016 cast a ballot but did not cast for president.
That's right.
Would you point out that voting means?
Yeah, like the presidential election is easy to get information on, but the further down you go the ballot, the harder it gets. And to find information on some of these things is difficult. Like even for the school board, there was a resume posted on the principal's window, and that was it the day before. And when you get down ballot, it's tough to find people's positions, but it is important we do the research. One of the things I like is go to the worst of the worst. The religious right wing, what is it, the Family Association, the Focus on the Family, like organizations like that are great for information. Whoever they fail, just use their ballots in reverse. Like they get that information out so quickly on what they rate. So going to the opposition for information is actually a good way to learn about people. And that's kind of what I've done. And they get it out before us, believe it or not. They're very quick on it. But looking at report cards from the Secular Coalition of America puts out report cards as well. And you can break it down by state as another good resource.
I have a general question. What can the local groups do better? I know that there's a lot that we could be doing, but are there 3 things that maybe stand out for you that we in Michigan can focus on in doing a better job in recruitment and organization?
So the mistake I see people make, and when I look at groups, is they're like, we need volunteers, we need people to do things. And they would stand up here in the podium and say, this is what I need. I need somebody that can go do this, and they list all the things they need people to do. And I see everybody run for the door because they're like, I got a job, I have a life, I ain't got time for that. And they can't get volunteers, and I see this mistake time and time again. As a leader, our job is to motivate and inspire people. And if you can motivate and inspire people, people will come up to you and say, how can I help? How can I get involved? This pisses me off that a church is coming into our school. Tell me what to do. If we do that, you will have more volunteers than you know what to do with. And that's what we've seen. And on issues that are important to different people. And this is very state specific. If I take sex education to Colorado, they don't care. They've already solved that problem for the most part. Do what's local. You know, politics are local. That's why we're covering a range of issues. You can also look at what divides you. Now, I know in Michigan you have a rich history of groups and splinters and fractions and people talking to people and not talking to people. And you're not special. You're not unique. That's around the country, unfortunately. But what we've seen is, can we all agree that we would like medically accurate sex ed? Okay, well, then make that your issue. Or maybe it's the LGBT. Make one of these issues for positive policy change. Go after that. Then the groups are working together for the first time in a long time. That heals wounds. The other thing the question got brought out, just to go back to a question from hours ago, is how do you stop In God We Trust? Well, once it's on those cars, there's nothing you can do. But when you're involved with the city councils and school boards, the city council calls me and said, hey, Jim, we got a donation for all these stickers. What do you think about this? And I go, legally you can do it. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, and this is why it's divisive. How about we give you stickers that say we the people? And they're like, I never thought of that. We're not going to do it. Any city that I've been involved with or our local group has been involved with has not put up In God We Trust. So if you're involved with these groups, you can prevent these things. But if you go in there after the fact, you got no shot.
I had a question for probably the best interactive I've seen in a while. We, on our podcast, we interviewed my cousin who was 16 at the time, and she's part of the LGBTQ community in her high school, and she's really showing me what activism looks like at the high school level. What is the school and the, I guess your fellow classmates, what are they talking about, and what does it feel like in that? Do you guys really feel like you're getting more political, or are you kind of an outlier?
Originally, since I've been doing more speaking, more people are knowing about my speeches, and I've been with these people since preschool, and all of a sudden yeah, I've been an atheist my whole life, and I'm like, what? And then, with the new election just happened with Trump, people are starting to become more outspoken about issues. And they're like, hey Kelly, what do you think about this? And I'll tell them, and you're like, oh. And I think now that they kind of trust in what I believe, which is not always a good thing sometimes, but, and they'll look it up and they'll ask me about issues that no one was ever talking about before. And, they're getting more involved in politics. And at the high school, which I'll be at next year, they started a pride group for the LGBT community. And the next year, I'm going to get sex ed into the high school because they're not teaching comprehensive sex ed. And there's going to be gender-neutral bathrooms so people feel more included, and this is just going to be with our community. And since I am outspoken about my beliefs and who I am, they're okay in accepting it more. And since my friends, they're very religious and conservative, and they're homophobic and all those great things, they don't like atheists, but since one of their friends is an atheist, they're accepting of the idea.